Pro Moto number 2 coming up next, and Jeremiah Jones, the one to beat here. Jones got off to, well, not the best of starts out there, worked his way up through the pack and into the number 1 spot before it was all said and done. Tough break for Digger Doug Gust as he got tangled up with Joe Byrd out there in that battle for the 2nd and 3rd place position, and came up away with an 11th place finish. Chad Wienen, we saw there a moment ago, the number 44, took a 3rd place finish, his first podium finish in his first year of pro racing. Welcome to the pro class, Chad Wienen, and way to go, Big Daddy. As we drop the gate on Moto number 2, is Natali going to be able to get the whole shot this time? Yes, he does. He actually sneaks right by not only the 199 of Pat Brown again, but this time the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones, and Jones is in the hunt early on. This could be a classic matchup early on in Moto number 2, and the race fans here at Budds Creek have got to be stoked at what they're seeing unfold before their very eyes right now. It is John Natali in the number 1 spot. Jeremiah Jones running in 2nd. That was the 199 of Pat Brown in 3rd. Is he able to hang on to it? As we've got some Honda mounted pilots right behind him that are knocking on the door. One of those includes, I believe, Joe Havistow. As we look a little closer, it is Brown in 3rd. It is Havistow in 4th aboard the number 75, the 708 of the B. Harold Goodman, the Bumblebee, in 5th. Spader in 6th. Dustin Wimmer, the 191, in 7th. Keith Little in 8th. Jason Dunkelberger in 9th. In 10th place, Tim Farr. Joe Byrd all the way back in an 11th place position. He's got some ground to make up, but look right behind him, the 55 of Doug Gust. Then Luberg, Wienen, White, Kane in 16th, Arno in 17th, Pelshaw in 18th, Corey Ellis in 19th, and Josh Creamer rounds out the top 20. Some of our front runners from Moto number 1 have found themselves in the back of the pack, or mid-pack, like Joe Byrd and Doug Gust, and even Chad Wienen back there in a 16th place spot. So these riders have got the work cut out for them. Can they work their way through the pack? It's the first of many laps here, 20 minutes plus 1 lap of racing as far as these motos are concerned, and the battle is on for the lead early on. And as you can see, the crowd is on their feet as John Natali makes his way by the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones, hot on his rear wheels, showing him a couple of wheels every once in a while, but Natali is rising to the occasion. Will he be able to wear out Jones from the first place position as Jones is trying to wear him down? He saw him fade in the first moto. He's thinking the same thing could happen here in Moto number 2. The arm pump was an issue. Will it be an issue here in the second moto, or was Natali able to remedy that situation in between motos? Sometimes that can happen. There's some exercises and things that these riders can do that can actually help alleviate those types of problems. Look at the battling back from 3rd on back as the Bumblebee Goodman, the 75 of Havistow, the 199 of Pat Brown are all going at it right now, all battling for the number 3 spot, and it looks like Brown is going to have to settle up for 4th place right now, and that's going to be behind the right just ahead, I think, of the 75 of Havistow. The battle for the lead is still on, though. Natali and Jones, and look at this. Natali actually appears to stretch things out over Jeremiah Jones, and this is something that I'm sure a lot of folks, especially after seeing what happened in Moto number 1 happen, they didn't expect this. We'll see if it's able to stay the same way, par for the course from Natali throughout the entire moto. But as you can see, both these riders trying to work that off-camber turn to their advantage, waiting and hoping that the other rider will make some sort of mistake. They'll open this race up just a little bit on the part of John Natali, or close the gap and maybe put him in a position to challenge and pass for Jeremiah Jones through the rhythm section, now out of that whoops, and now heading toward the finish line for another lap of racing to be complete. And in the history books, Jones watching it all take place. I think at this point, Jones may be thinking, let's just watch John and see what happens as this race wears on. I've seen him wear out more than once so far. Even did it down in Georgia after taking the Moto wins. And Natali was just fortunate enough to have a strong enough lead down there that he was able to secure the overall win with a 2-moto sweep down there. And see if he can do it here in this racing action today, at least a second Moto win after nearly winning Moto number 1. Lots of things happen out there. John Natali, I know, is kicking himself in the tail in between motos. But again, exercises, a lot of mental concentration. As Jeremiah Jones, I don't think any amount of concentration in the world is going to help you out right now, as Jeremiah Jones is all over the rear wheel. It's just a matter of pushing yourself to the limit on the edge of the envelope out there and not making any mistakes, and that's exactly what Jones is trying to force him into. But right now, the champ is holding steady in that number 1 spot. Look at this, Tavis Kane out of the race. What happened to the McKinleyville, California rider, that number 6 rider? You know, that's got to be heartbreaking, especially after making the coast-to-coast trek out here to Maryland. Looks like Dustin Wimmer has moved up into a number 3 position aboard the number 191 Honda. Meanwhile, the battle's still up front as Jones trying to get around the number 13 of John Natale to take the win here this weekend. Natale taking a second in Moto number 1. If things stay the way they are right now, Natale would end up with the overall win and be able to extend his points lead. Right now, it looks like quite a bit over Joe Byrd, who started out in an 11th place position to kick this moto off here in Maryland. Tough break for him. You know that he had a lot of things going on in his mind, especially after those troubles that he and Digger Doug Gus got into after battling it out for the second place position for a good part of Moto number 1. Now Joe Byrd is finding himself trying to play catch up here with the rest of the field. Natale and Jones are walking away from the rest of the field. They're not going to be contented at least anytime soon unless these guys get together as Byrd and Gus did and allow the rest of the field the opportunity to close in. I know that Jones is a fast rider, and he is pushing John Natale. And look at this. He not only pushes him out of his way to take over the number 1 spot. And Jeremiah Jones, your new leader, as John Natale moves into second. Dustin Wimmer holds on to third, but the battle for fourth right now with Pat Brown holding on to the position aboard the number 199. Meanwhile, look at the gap already that Jeremiah Jones is beginning to open up over the defending champ and points leader heading into this round, John Natale. And you know Natale is thinking to himself right now, what is going on? Why can I not keep the pace of Jeremiah? Last year, everybody was playing catch up to me. Now, this year, I get out front, these guys catch up, and now I begin to find myself playing catch up. So Natale, it's a pretty hard on him at a lot of different levels. I'm sure mentally it is playing its toll on him as it is physically right now, as he is trying to use every bit of energy that he has. The Ironman is what they deemed him. Is he going to be the Ironman here in 06, or is that title going to slowly fade away? We'll just have to wait and see. Look at the air that Jeremiah Jones is getting on that downhill section, trying to set himself up for the turn at the bottom of the hill. You've seen him nearly sideways coming toward that next turn, and that set him up for the turn, and he made it without much problem. Now look at this. Looks like Byrd challenging Brown still for the number 3 spot. Byrd, another one of those riders that had a good, strong first moto going, but Joe Byrd ends up dropping off the 4th when it's all said and done, but it could have been a lot worse, as the guy that he got tangled up with, Doug Gus, finished in 11th place in that first moto. So Joe Byrd, I'm sure, is counting the good luck and the fortune that he has today in Moto number 1 as something that is very good and on his side. Even though he got a 4th place finish, it could have been a lot worse. He is now running in 4th again, but he's got to make up ground if he wants to be a part of the podium celebration coming up here in just a little bit. Right now, the number 13 of Natale holding on to 2nd place, but you got to wonder, is he going to be able to continue to hang on to that 2nd place position, or will the momentum that Jeremiah Jones has right now be enough of a confidence breaker for John Natale to basically slow him down and allow both Pat Brown, Dustin Wimmer, and even Joe Byrd to catch up and maybe challenge for that 2nd place position? Time will tell. We're only about halfway through Moto number 2 as we make our way up and down the hills here in Budds Creek, Maryland. Again, the site of the 2007 Motocross Destinations in August, or actually it'll be in September of 2007. We're looking to see the world's top motorcycle motocross pilots right here in Maryland. Should be a great race just outside the nation's capital. Look at this. It looked like Natale was losing ground out there, but something has sparked the number 13 machine to keep him in the hunt behind Jeremiah Jones. And now, though he may not be challenging from that 2nd place position, he is within striking distance, especially if Jones makes a mistake. Another youngster moving up into the ranks here in this 2nd moto. This time around it's Dustin Wimmer. Last time around it was Chad Weenan. So Wimmer now showing some great skills here in Maryland on this technical race course that we've got out here. A lot of uphill and downhill jumps. It's timing is of the utmost essence here, as you don't want to overshoot too many of these jumps and you don't want to undershoot them, because you could find yourself in a lot of trouble if either of these situations happens to occur here at Budds Creek. There goes Jeremiah. He goes all the way to the outside, back to the extreme inside, drifts to the outside of that turn, and that basically sets him up for the inside of the turn before they head into the rhythm section. But there's Natale, not far behind Jones. I'm sure he knows he's back there. And at this point, with the luck that he's had so far in his 2006 racing season, Jeremiah Jones is thinking, please let me put 2 together here and have the win and be able to at least boost my confidence, if nothing else, and the morale around the Suzuki pits, because it seems like week after week after week, it has been one thing after another that has broken the morale underneath the Yoshimura Suzuki pits. But today, it looks like things may be different. They're on the upswing as far as morale is concerned. Lap number 6, we're just past the halfway point and headed for home. And will Jeremiah Jones be able to do it a 1-1 here today in Maryland? We'll wait and see. John Natale looks like he may be in store for the 2-2. Dustin Wimmer, who is riding in a third-place position right now, finished in 6th place in Moto number 1. Chad Weenan, the rider that finished 3rd place in Moto number 1, is now struggling back in about a 7th or 8th place position in this second Moto, so he's got his work cut out for him to chip away at some of these other riders. And starting doing the mathematical calculations right now, if nothing changes, Jones should be able to take the win, and John Natale 2nd, Dustin Wimmer 3rd, but we're still a ways away from the checker flag flying and this race being in the history books. You can't count out Joe Byrd either, depending on what happens to him here in this second Moto. If he's able to work up through the pack and maybe even past Dustin Wimmer, he might be able to put himself in a position to be in the overall top 3 when this race day has concluded. Jones getting a little bit of wheel spin there as he looks like he might have got it hung up on the inside of one of those deep ruts that are beginning to develop here in this soil at Budds Creek, Maryland. We've got a lot of clay out there, some rock in the clay, but mainly it's a clay mixture that these riders are riding on out there, so it gets very hard packed, and the ruts, once they start to dig out, can make some very deep holes, and if that happens, sometimes these riders can find themselves getting hung up there. Look at that. Joe Byrd has worked his way up through the pack just a bit, is now challenging Joe Havistow for that 4th place position, so Byrd slowly on the work through the pack as he is trying to reel in, again, the front runners. I think more importantly, he's thinking he'd like to be up front with Jeremiah Jones, but I think he's thinking the number 13 of John Natale is the one that I want to beat the most to try to chip away at that points lead that Natale was able to secure after Georgia. And Joe Byrd, like we said, has got a lot on his plate here this weekend, trying to regain the points back, and after losing the points lead, you know that's got to be a big confidence breaker for him. But for the most part, Joe Byrd has not let it sway him too much as he has kept his head down and has been charging the entire race, even in Moto 1 after the misfortunes of running together with Digger Doug Gus and losing so many positions. He put his head down to charge back to a 4th place position. So Joe Byrd, if he can continue to ride like this in the 06 season, might very well deserve to win his first ever championship. You know, you got to wonder if it would be more gratifying for him to win it now than maybe even a few years ago, as Joe Byrd is one of those smart businessmen. He's 33 years old in this season, and that's not old by any means or any stretch of the imagination, especially if you look at Digger Doug Gus, who's 39, pushing 40 years old, and still racing very competitively here in the ATV National Motocross Series. Joe Byrd's still got a few years under his belt, it looks like, but at the same time, he would like to put away a national championship to his credit, so if for nothing else, he can have some bragging rights over the course of the next few years and open a few eyes out there to let the folks know that Joe Byrd is championship caliber, and not only was, but still is, and will continue to be for quite some time. The battling back there for the 3rd place position, as we see now, Havistow has closed the gap on Wimmer, the number 191, the youngster of Wimmer. Will he be able to rise to the occasion and fend off the challenges that are going on right now? Look at this. We've got a battle for 2nd place as John Natale has faded way back. Natale is way back in the he's still in the top 3, but he is way back off the pace of the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones. Back in the 6th place position, working up from 11th place, was the number 55 of Digger Doug Gus. So Natale, Wimmer, and Byrd, a 3-way battle for the 2nd place position, and this has been the biggest ray of light that Joe Byrd has seen all day long, as he is now in the contention with the number 13 of John Natale. And if for anything, a good ride for pride for the number 7 of Byrd now, as he is knocking on the 191 of Wimmer, who has moved into 2nd. Natale is pretty much faded from the picture now, and Joe Byrd knocking on the door. Will he be able to get around Wimmer to take the 2nd place position? And this is going to change the way the overall is going to look quite a bit, because if Joe Byrd can move into the 2nd place position, he might be able to capture the overall 2nd on the day, especially if Dustin Wimmer holds on the 3rd and John Natale is at at least a fourth place position or further back. And right now, that's what I know that Joe Byrd is banking on, or at least hoping for. But he's got to get around the 191 of Wimmer before he can even start looking at the mathematical calculations like that. And I know that Byrd's probably not figuring on that right now, but as soon as the checker flag flies, he's going to start adding up points to see where he's going to be finishing. And I'm sure that in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I've got to get up here if I want to finish on the podium. How far up the podium he's going to be able to finish? Well, he's not real sure right now, and we're not real sure right now, but we do know that unless something happens to Jeremiah Jones, unless his luck turns sour again here today, he's going to take the overall win with a 1-1. But the real racing action and the deciding factor in this saga is in this second-place battle with Dustin Wimmer and Joe Byrd right now. It is still Wimmer with the advantage over the seasoned veteran of Joe Byrd. Here they come side by side up that hill. Will Byrd be able to make a pass on him this time around? It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, or will it? Let's check back with those guys here in just a moment. Right now, Jeremiah Jones takes a white flag. Last lap of racing now. The Yoshimura Suzuki rider from Bowling Green, Kentucky, getting the cheers from the crowd, waving him on, saying, "Go, Jeremiah, go." Some of them saying, "Go, JJ, go." Whatever your favorite name for him is, he is going, and gone as far as second place is concerned at this point. Joe Byrd finally takes over the second place position, and third is Wimmer. Look at the battle for fourth place now between Natali and Havistow. Havistow sees a glimpse of the possibility of beating the former champion and the points leader, and you know that's got to be a big boost of confidence for his program as well, to be able to be riding not only in the top 5, but wheel to wheel with the number 13 and defending champ of John Natali. There's Jeremiah Jones. Last few turns, checkers are out. Jeremiah Jones take a Moto 2 win. That's a 1-1 for the overall. Byrd will finish up 4-2 for the overall second. John Natali a 2-4 for the overall third. Dustin Wimmer, his 6-3, just good enough for an overall 4. As we take a look at the overall standings from our Moose Racing results board, Chad Wienan's 3-7, good enough for a 5th overall. Then it's Joe Havistow in 6th overall. 7th overall going to Travis Spader. Doug Gus gets an 8th overall. 9th, Keith Little, and Matt White rounds out your top 10.
I feel great. Suzuki Yoshimura, that 450 was just talking this weekend, and this feels good just to be back up there, especially with a 1-1 finish. That's great. John looked like the first moto he got real tired. Just kind of pacing myself behind him the second moto. Just looked like he got tired again, got pumped up or something. So played to my benefit. We got away from everybody else real early. So kind of got out in front of John, paced myself, slowed down a little bit, and won the moto. So all I can do is keep doing my homework at home, come back to every race, try to win all these races, and that's what I get paid to do. That's what Suzuki and Yoshimura, everybody under this tent does. So just try to give it my all every time I go out and just have fun.
We'll see if that happens or not as we take a look at our Moose Racing Winner's Circle and the Champagne Celebration.